All right, welcome everyone. So far, we're still in module one, but we've already covered a couple of things. We talked about the introduction to Linux and what Linux actually is. We've talked about the terminal, and now we're going to actually start getting ready with that terminal. So if you're using a CentOS version or anything else, typically you're going to see activities. So to open up the terminal, like we talked about here, go ahead and type in terminal. Or if you need to, if you don't see it there, you can go ahead and tell here where to type search. You can type in terminal as well, and you'll see it pops up automatically. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right now for this actual piece is we're going to start diving into running your first couple Linux commands. And we're going to start looking at how Linux works and some of the commands to go ahead and kind of know and do. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do for this beginning part, because some of y'all may be very, very new to Linux, is I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a comparative analysis of like, hey, this is what happens when you run it in the command line versus this is how it looks like when we do it in the GUI. As I said before, this course, you will be using nothing but the command line. It is one thing to be able to, you can go ahead and probably do almost everything in the GUI, but the power comes from the customization of the command line. And that's where the guru-ness of being able to be familiar with the Linux operating system comes into play. So as you can see right here, I went ahead and opened up my actual file system here. As you can see, I'm in my CentOS machine right here. I haven't updated it to the newest one. I'm going to be upgrading it pretty soon. So just go ahead and actually see. Notice right here that when I open up actually, and to open this up, I just went to the files, which is the filing cabinet. Go figure, right? And it points me in the direction of home. Okay, so this is where I live. This is my home. That's why they call it the home or the home directory. But we can kind of see where we're at and this is a little bit of a review and everything. Remember, this right here corresponds to the user that I'm logged in as student. This is the host name that I am currently on. And then this is the current directory. And as you remember before, I said the current directory, when it's actually the tilde, means that it's actually the home directory, okay? And if I want to go ahead and actually talk about and understand what the home directory is, or see where I'm at within this, yeah, I'm in the home directory, but where is that exactly? Well, we can see that here in the GUI. It's very visual, but however, we can't see that visually in the command line. So how do we, in the terminal, so how do we actually go ahead and see that? Well, we're gonna have a command for it. We're gonna do a type in pwd. And this is gonna be the first command that you're gonna go ahead and become familiar with or run. And pwd stands for present working directory or print working directory. And notice that when it comes right here, it says home student, okay? So if I come over here, you can kind of see where I can go ahead and go to properties and notice it says I'm in the student directory, but I'm at home, okay? So it's home/student. Cool. And notice it said the parent folder is /home, but I'm actually in the student folder. All right, so no biggie, right? Nothing wrong with that or anything else. Now notice that I say this is where I'm at, but I'm looking at this in the GUI and you can see that there's actually a bunch of different files and folders in here, but I'm not seeing that here in the terminal. So we're gonna actually do another command. So here's the next command you're gonna become familiar with. It's gonna be called the ls command. Now ls actually stands for, it's an abbreviation for list, okay? So I'm gonna type in the ls command, and as you can see right here, here we go. Here's all the different files and everything else and folders and directories I have. Now, there is some nuances to this, and we can go, there is a lot more detail we'll talk about a little bit later on in the course and everything. But overall, I think that what you need to kind of get familiar with is the fact that, you know, this actually right here is the printout of what it should look like. Now, color coding, which is actually something that Linux does, which is phenomenal, it really helps you as the user understand. So notice that any text files are in plain white text. If it's blue, the way I have it configured, if it's blue for my computer, it is the directory, okay? And if it's green for my computer, that means that that actually is represented as an executable, okay? It can run, it's a program. So notice that all the blue sections are going to go ahead and be the directories. The white is going to be files, and then the green right now represents, in my configuration, runnable. These are runnable scripts, or these are actual executables or applications I can run. Right. So let's go ahead and actually talk about this. Let's see if I want to go ahead and move around. If I want to go ahead and look at the desktop, I can go ahead and or look at the download section. There's nothing in there. You go to the desktop. Nothing in there. I don't remember if I have anything in here. Let's see. All right. So let's go ahead and say I want to move into the bash scripts. Okay, I want to move into the bash scripts folder. Then all we do is just double click, right? And here we go. Well, we have a similar way of doing that in the terminal because we don't. There's no mouse in the terminal. So what we do is we do what's called CD. So here's your third command you're going to be running. This actually stands for change directory. So I'm going to do a change directory, and I'm going to actually type in bash, and I don't have to type in. I'm going to type in _scripts, okay? But here's what I want to go ahead and say. Another cool tidbit of Linux is that Linux has what's called an auto completion feature, okay? So what we do know is that if I go ahead and if I don't remember how exactly it's supposed to be, or I don't want to type out the whole thing, I can actually do an auto completion feature within the terminal. So I'm going to back up. So we're going to go into bash scripts, right? We're going to go into here. But what I want to go ahead and do is, instead of having to type this out because it's long, I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to type in BA, and I'm going to hit the tab button twice. So notice it automatically prompted it and put it in. Now, why did it actually do that? Well, if I hit the tab button once, it automatically fills it in with the first option, okay? Now, watch what happens if I hit the tab button twice. Nothing, right? Well, that's because of the fact that we can't change to bash test because it's not a directory, okay? So now let's hit enter. Okay, so now we're in bash scripts again. So how do we go ahead, if I'm in a new directory and I want to give me a listing of the files that are in the directories that are currently in this actual folder, I'm going to type in ls, and there we go. So you can see the 13.16.0.12 automated is right there. We have the 2.txt right there. And as you can see, we can start naming these off. So this actually is a really cool concept. But now, like, let's say I want to go back to the home directory. I want to go back to my home directory, right? Well, in the GUI, we can just type in, we can hit the go back button, right? The back button. We don't have that capability here. So how do we do that in the terminal then? How do we go back? Well, it's going to be using the CD command, where change directory, but there's actually a really cool, I would say, shortcut in this sense of how we can tell the terminal, hey, go back one level of directory. So we're currently in bash scripts. So we're going to go back to this page. So I'm going to go ahead and actually do a ... period, which is like, hey, don't go back to this directory, go back to the previous directory, okay? Because you can actually do CD to dot, and it won't do anything. See, if you can see right here, we're still in the same directory, because when you put a period in there, that means the first level. This is the first level. So we want to go back to the previous level. So now we're going to do CD ... And we can see what directory we're in just to verify and make sure. We can do a PWD to verify, hey, look, we're back in home student. Now, but what happens when we actually go ahead and, go back more? Let's see. Now we're in the home directory. So if we were to do that, we were actually, if we went back, we would go into the home directory, and I can just go into /home, right? So now if I do a present working directory, let me come over here, PWD, notice I'm in /home. If I want to do an ls, these are the user directories for the users that are on my box, which is going to be student and Timmy, okay? But can we go back even more? Let's see. Let's go back CD ... Oh, so now we're in this root directory. Well, we're going to talk about this in the next video. It's going to be about the Linux file system and how the Linux file system works. And it's a basic overview. But this actually is where we're at the heart of the directory. So if I was going to do a pwd, notice we're at root. But if I ls, these are all the corresponding main directories for the entire operating system. And we're going to go about this in a little bit more, but I just want to go ahead and just stress that. And then here's a really cool feature. You can see right here that there's a lot of actual, like, writing and everything else. One of the other cool features that Linux feeds in that did it before Windows is that it has a way to go ahead and basically clear this as if it was like an Etch-a-Sketch or a whiteboard. So I'm going to type in the word clear. And there we go. We're back to having a blank slate. So that's it for this video. Go ahead and if you want to and everything, go ahead and move on to the next one. Next one's going to be about Linux file systems, and I'll see you next video.